Hello, and welcome to 20 Lore Pro, a community of Lorcana players who enjoy deck building, competing, and opening Lorcana product. You can find out more at our Discord community, 20lorepro/Discord, link in the description. We have tons of upcoming events, deck lists, and deck discussions, like in today's video, where I interviewed vVonder, the creator of Amethyst Steel Purple Princess, which has over 500 comments in the 20 Lore Pro Discord. We want to thank vVonder for giving us a deep dive into his list and showing us how to play this amazing deck. We hope you enjoyed the video. Hello and welcome to 20 Lore Pro. I'm SirAshtown, and today I'm joined here with vVonder from the 20 Lore channel. He has got his deck list, Amethyst Steel. Thank you so much for joining us today, vVonder.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I have your deck list up on the screen for everyone to see, and you have two versions of it today, but could you walk us through both the removal package and then the regular aggro package that you have for this deck?
For the removal package, it's more traditional, based on like the amber steel version that we started off with, and keeping to the 3 mana smash and then the strength. And then the goal is to play a 1-drop and then a 2-drop or 2 more 1s, and then a 3-drop in turn 4, sing the removal off of the 3-drop to like kill their 3 or 4 on curve, or just cast it on turn 3 to deal with a aerial to prevent her from singing swords, another opposing Arthur, a snake before it gets to kill your stuff. And that's also why the Befuddle is not bad.
Befuddle is such a great card and it's very versatile.
Oh yeah, which is why I eventually shifted to the non-removal list. Is some aspects with playing the removal cards is sometimes you just need to draw a threat. And when you draw Smash off the top of your deck, when you're just trying to gain that last 2 lore to win the game, it gets to you. So I switched over to a more hyper version. But then sometimes playing that, I'm just like, I wish I had a Smash for this aerial. If you're up against more Amber Steel style decks, I like the removal package more. If you're playing against more Red Purple, I like the more characters route. And this list is... like, both lists are generally for beating Red Purple, because if you don't care about Red Purple, the Amber Steel version is probably better. This deck was based off of it, and it kind of has a better Red Purple matchup, and all of its other matchups are just a little worse. But when Red Purple is 50+% of the format.
Now, this deck is called Purple Princess, right?
Yes.
No.
All about the Tiana. It's named after her. This deck was, like, both versions of the deck were designed to be blue steel because it was showing a resurgence. People were beating Red Purple with it. They were beating Purple Steel control, and Tiana is very good against blue steel. They can't really remove her outside of having a let it go on curve before you tap it, or a Hades after they've ramped. And most of the removal is damage based, and she just doesn't die to it, and she gains lore quickly. The blue steel deck also just, like, they normally don't have very many early drops. More recently they've added Hook back in, but before they were only running like Eric and a Cruella or a Jafar. And so if they don't have one of their 6 to 8 1 or 2 drops, and you go 1-drop, 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 they can't really catch up without having like a singing grab your swords mixed with a Tinkerbell to deal 3 to your whole board.
Yeah, Tiana just having such a strong ability, and herself being very strong with the 4 defense.
Yeah, they have to hit it with Tinkerbell twice, like back into it twice, or a damaged beast. So, like, don't want to be damaging your beast, your opponent's beast, to prevent them from drawing cards if you're questing with the Tiana at the same time.
In a perfect game, What are you looking to do with this deck?
Well, you tend to want to mulligan most of your expensive cards away. Like, you don't want to keep a goat in your starting hand, and you don't want the Hercules. And depending on the matchup, you may or may not want to keep a Tiana. But you almost always want to be looking for a Maleficent. Like, she's just so good. Sometimes you want to be looking for Pinocchios, but there are... Really, the dream is triple Maleficent, really. Like, if you can just go Maleficent into Maleficent, it's so good.
That seems really strong, especially if they can't find a way to deal with it.
Yeah, if they don't have a 2-drop or a 1-drop, the game's basically over. And then if you start with a Maleficent and they play something, you can quest and then play a snake to bounce it back. So then your snake is also hard for their 1 or 2 drop to deal with, and you got 2 free lore from your Maleficent. And then on turn 3, you can replay the Maleficent and say a Pinocchio, and probably get a free quest off with the snake. Because, like, if they're killing snake, they're either killing it with another snake, so it's trading, or they're playing their own fox. And it's just good to get that off the board if they're willing to do that.
Yeah, Fox being really strong, just that 4/3 rusher that can just come out and take up really just some of your important creatures, but hopefully trading into a snake.
And you normally want to be able to play a Hercules or a Prince on turn 3. As normally you're just playing a Maleficent and then a Pinocchio or a Huntsman, Pascal, a Simba with another Tiana, like a couple 1 or 2s, and then dropping the bodyguard lets you kind of just turn them sideways. And if they don't have their own fox, it's hard for them to really get through Prince. Like, the resist 1 and then being a 1/3 is kind of hard to deal with, and sometimes you just play Prince on curve and they don't have an answer and you just get a quest with it. And you can also just sing your strength to remove something while also doing it. And then on this more aggressive list, actually, we're looking at that doesn't have strength, you can start with like the turn 1 Maleficent and then turn 2 befuddle their 1-drop while playing another 1-drop. And it's just like a huge tempo play that's like really hard for them to keep up with. And then in this more aggressive version, we're getting rid of the removal, like the strength and the smash. We're upping on Huntsman and Benja, and then we're adding Donald to just give another bodyguard to just like jam on the board. And he doesn't just die to a fox or a snake, like the 3/3s that normally kill our other bodyguards that we need to keep in play, so we can just keep turning our guys sideways. And just being able to go like bodyguard while maintaining a Maleficent each turn is just hard for some decks to deal with.
Yeah, Donald Duck just being such a really strong bodyguard. You talked about blue steel as one of the matchups that this deck is really good against. But what are some other decks that you really enjoy playing against with this strategy that you found success against?
Anything that's just a little slow. If they don't have strong attackers to get through the bodyguards, it's just really good. If they just don't have early creatures to contest your Maleficents, you just kind of go underneath them and your bodyguards get in the way. This is definitely designed to try to beat red purple and to beat blue steel, as well as red blue. Like, red blue struggles really hard here. Like, they have Grandma, Tala, and maybe Cruella, and like those aren't getting through bodyguards. It's like their best play is having Tala into Teeth and Ambitions, and then ramping with a Fishbone Quill as well into a Be Prepared, but they're probably coming close to running out of cards there. But that's also why we have those Benjas, is like it really hurts the Fishbone Quill decks. They normally need the Fishbone Quill to trigger twice to really get the advantage. And so being able to slow them down while also adding another 2-lore threat. And if they're playing Fishbone Quill on 3, then they're not putting pressure on on our characters, so our characters just get to continue questing.
Yeah, that sounds like 3 decks that you want to find a strategy to beat, and it sounds like this deck has found kind of some lines to get there. Talking about some of the matchups that you're looking for, where do you think are some of the matchups that you see the player across the table, you see them play these colors, and you think, oh no, here it comes again?
Amber Steel and Green Steel. Like, you can beat them, but if your opponent starts with a turn 1 Cinderella, and then, like, you're probably in a world of pain because they're just going to have it, right? They're going to have the Storm Let the Rage On, followed by Strength of the Raging Fire, into Baby Tinkerbell, into turn 4 Shift Tinkerbell, sing Grab Your Swords. And you're just going to be like, I'm at 2 lore, and I have nothing. Like, that can just happen sometimes if they just have everything, you know? That's just the way she is.
Well, what are your odds currently against your worst matchups, and how do you come around to beating them?
I am 10-14 against Orange Gray with the Hyper Creature version. I've only played like 130 games total with the deck on ladder, and so 41% into a pretty bad matchup. Like, I'll take that. Green Gray, I've only played it 8 times, but I'm 3-5 against it, and it feels terrible. I'm pretty happy when I beat either of those 2 versions, as well as Purple Gray. I have a 33% there. I'm 3-6 against it. The decks that are playing Baby Tinkerbell into Tinkerbell are a nightmare, and the Green Gray and Purple Gray deck both have that. It's just this version of the deck compared to the Amber Steel one, there's just like the Pinocchio just gives us more X1s, and since it costs that 1 extra ink, and then we're also playing Pascal, like, we kind of get wrecked by Tinkerbell. Like, she's scary. Luckily, those are the only 2 decks that really play Baby Tink. I've seen her once or twice in the Orange Gray, but I mean, that's why I'm 10-14 versus Orange Gray, but 3-6 and 3-5 against the other 2. Those extra percentage points are gained from them not having Baby Tinkerbell.
That makes sense. So it depends on like the deck variants of the list that people are playing, whether or not the matchup is as worse as it could be or less lenient.
Yeah. I'm 8-2 against Blue Gray. On ladder, I was also in the 2 weekly Manticore weeklies I played in. I think I'm like 7-1 against Blue Steel. Like, that's why Bjorn for it and I like really jumped on the deck, and then we played in the weekly that was like half Blue Gray, and he won it. And I think we drew in the second round because we wanted to play on more Blue Steel, like, and we didn't want to just knock one of us out early, and then he didn't lose and I lost one more time.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, playing the Manticore tournaments on the 20 Lore Pro page, there's a lot of weekly tournaments that they do that you're able to test out some of these strategies and see what you're better against.
And you actually get to play the best of 3 thing that you don't get to experience yet on Pixelborn. It is in the works, I've heard. And the percentages for the matchup people want to play and hear, I've got a 68.9% against Red Purple and 31-14 against it. It's a pretty good matchup. It's gotten a little bit worse recently because, well, basically more people are playing this Tiana deck and they've realized it and they're shifting to Dragonfire. So if your opponent has Dragonfire in the Red Purple list, it can be bad for you because they get to just kill the Tiana. You don't even get a quest and shut them down. So instead of just Maui being really bad for you against Red Purple, which is, by the way, their best card against you is Maui. So it's pretty nice that some of the lists have cut down to only 3 Mauis and 3 Teeth. When they're cutting on that, it's very good. But now they're back up to 4 Mauis and playing 2-ish Dragonfires, and that makes it a little bit more rough for you.
It's interesting to see just how decks kind of shift during the format, and when other decks become more prevalent, they'll take out maybe some of the flex cards to try to figure out their matchups to work around them better. But for your deck, and I know you have 2 different lists here, you have this more creature aggro list versus the removal package, what are some of the flex cards that you kind of shift out of or shift into based on what the format's looking like?
Well, I've almost entirely shifted to the hyper creature version, but I've felt like going back to the removal version because of the resurgence of some archetypes I've been playing against. It's hard to explain, but like in the Pixelborn top 100 meta, it adjusts and shifts and counter picks a lot. So like after 3 or 4 top 100 players started playing Tiana and doing well with it, more people picked it up in the top 100, and then it's like, well, they're going to have answers quicker than like if you were to just take this to your locals or a 1K. People aren't going to be adjusting their red purple deck to beat Tiana aggro. They might need to, as the Amber Steel version had 2 or 3 top 8 finishes the last couple weeks.
Wow, that's good to hear that the deck is really making waves and causing people to have to shift to their decks just to be able to handle Tiana.
Yeah, there was talk about her as the set first came out. I know DeCandio definitely had a list that he had posted, and I'm pretty sure that's where Boomy got his inspiration from initially. And it's kind of crazy to see how close his list was to the lists that kind of are like the mainstay now. I mean, he was probably 10 cards off, which is only 2.5 cards, right? Like,
wow. If you have time, could you show us a little bit of gameplay and kind of the best hands to keep with this deck so we can show that to the community?
Yeah, let's do it. Ruse Dad. Big fan of Ruse Dad. He's in my chat a lot. I follow him on Twitter. But this could be good, this could be bad. We're on the play, but we don't have Maleficent. Befuddle's not very good here. They don't have very many 1-drops at all. We kind of want to keep the Benja just because of Fishbone Quill. Probably going to keep the Huntsman because it's just an on-curve threat. It's not a great thing, but I'm going to keep Pascal because we need at least 1-1-drop. I hope we draw Maleficent. And we did not. We don't really want these. They're just kind of expensive. So we're just going to ink one of those to get it out of the way. Play this. We're going to say hi to Rue's dad because we love him. And then we're going to just hope he draws terrible. Robin Hood. Well, I mean, I'm happy they're playing that instead of a Popsicle. It's kind of interesting choice. I could either just ink this so I could play Pascal and the Tiana, but I'd probably just want the Huntsman. So we're probably going to ink Tiana, and then if we get lucky and draw like a Pinocchio next turn, we can play the Pascal in it. Otherwise, we're probably just playing Pascal next turn. I mean, we're going to see another card with Huntsman. But I didn't want to have to ink the Goat and then next turn ink Fox to play this. And it looks like we're going to play the Fox this turn so we can attack with Huntsman and not let them kill it with the Tala. We just have to hope he doesn't have teeth. Probably can afford to get rid of this. I just don't want them to know I have a Benja, and if I discarded a Benja here, it's just like a big signal that I have it. It's similar for inking it, so I'm going to ink this Pascal. We're probably playing this next turn. Hiding the information might not be worth it. It might have just been better to keep the Pascal, so next turn I could Benja and play a Pascal. Since we're almost guaranteed to play this. And had I inked the Benja, then they might just not have played the Fishbone out of fear, and that would have been probably just as good for us. So let's see if we get super punished by not keeping the Pascal. We're gonna have 4 this turn and then 5 next turn. We're probably good on not needing Benja. So I could probably keep these 2 and ink this Benja.
Honestly, it feels kind of nice though, being able to target their fishbone quill.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty important. Obviously, they have another one, which is extra scary. And now I'm probably gonna want to play this Tiana. Like, if their last card is Be Prepared, like, that's, like, not great for us, but it also puts them pretty far back. We can't actually really empty our hand, so the Tiana doesn't probably matter. Just have to hope they don't have Scar, basically. So they're all 20 or 2 lore threats. If I play this as a bodyguard and they have Scar, it kind of doesn't matter, but it kind of does. They still get to kill both. We're gonna play the long con and play the huntsman and not ink. And then hope we can attack with it and then befuddle it and replay it. And just slowly do that here. We're just hoping and hoping that the last card in Rue's dad's hand or the card they drew is not Flavor Sham or Be Prepared. Most likely Flavor Sham, and I feel like they have the Be Prepared. Yeah, okay. So their last card was Be Prep. That was a pretty good draw. I think I'm gonna play Tiana. I'm gonna ink Befuddle and play Pascal. And what this is gonna do, it's gonna make it that we're probably gonna turn Tiana on next turn. So they can't play songs or actions. So we just have to hope they don't have an answer to the Tiana right now. We're not going to play in bodyguard mode. And we're going to bounce Pascal and replay it instead of inking. There's just like a crazy world. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe the 1 ink would have mattered more than doing that. Well, there's the Maui for poor Tiana.
Yeah, kind of like you mentioned earlier, that Maui being one of those big threats for Tiana.
So we're basically going to get to 16 lore, and then we just have to hope. We just have to hope they don't draw Be Prepared right here. We have lethal in play.
Yeah, Pinocchio just changing so much. Just be able to lure for 3.
And that was just enough. We got lucky. But the decks, there's a lot of lines you can take, and you can easily get punished or rewarded pretty hard.
Thank you so much, Wonder, for giving us that great gameplay. Really enjoyed seeing you play the deck and talk through some of the lines and the way that you were thinking about how to play the deck. Where can we, watch you more in the future, watch you play games, or even follow you on socials?
Well, you can watch my stream on Twitch weekdays, Monday through Friday. I stream from around 10 a.m. to 2:20 p.m. Central Time on Wonderland Streams. Double V for the W. My Twitter is just at Luke Wonderland with the 2 V's.
That's great. Thank you so much, Wonder. We really appreciate you walking us through this Purple Princess deck list, and hope to see you more in the future.
Thanks for the interview, Ash, and I'll be very happy to chat with you about things again.
Awesome. Well, we'll catch you later. Thank y'all so much for watching, and we'll check y'all out in the next Deck Tech.